If you were to ask who my favorite captain is, that would have to be none other than Benjamin Sisko, a hard-working single father who is assigned to a backwater planet that no one really cared about, ultimately having a crisis of faith in who he is, and is ultimately tasked with helping rebuild a civilization. He overcomes adversity, finds love again, helps an entire people get back on their feet, and, well, becomes a war hero. He would be challenged, he would be bent, but he would not break. He's probably the most well-rounded character in all of Star Trek. But he does have one fatal flaw that I think is worth noting in our times. Sisko can be intolerant of those who don't think like him. Now let me clarify so that there isn't any confusion. Generally, Sisko is a very open-minded individual. In the first episode of Deep Space Nine, he even says that he has come to have questions answered and to even find new questions he didn't know existed.
We are constantly searching, not just for answers to our questions, but for new questions. We are explorers knowledge, and that is why I am here. Not to conquer you with weapons or with ideas, but to coexist and learn.
He doesn't initially agree with Bajoran religion, but at least honors it to the extent that he can, before he becomes a believer and jumps in whole hog. Hell, he even seems to understand those he doesn't agree with in general. He has shown an understanding of the Cardassian people's plight before the Dominion War, as well as at least a moderate understanding of why the Dominion operates the way that it does. So it should be no surprise that when the Maquis strike back against the Cardassians, he knows exactly why. He blames Starfleet and Earth for putting them in this position and is trying to find a way to appease both.
Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints.
Excuse me?
Do you know what the trouble is?
No.
The trouble is Earth.
Really?
On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise, but the Maquis do not live in paradise. Out there, in the demilitarized zone, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive, whether it meets with the Federation approval or not.
That is, until people of his own tribe decide to join the Maquis, and then suddenly, the person who knew that Starfleet was taking the wrong tact because they lived in paradise will chase others to the ends of the universe to capture them. Before we continue, it's important that we understand and define who and what the Maquis are. The Maquis, and their dual nature, is explained in TNG's Journey End and Preemptive Strike. This would only be solidified in DS9's The Maquis and Voyager's Caretaker. The large majority of the Maquis were colonists, some living decent lives in their homes, just wanting to be left alone, and others, arguably a smaller group, wanting to be free of Cardassian rule initially, and ultimately wanting their own state. This becomes confusing because depending on the episode and the person, the Maquis might be a terrorist cell or it may be a colonist. And as I said, when Sisko doesn't have to deal with this directly, when he doesn't have to pick a side or get his hands dirty in a way he disagrees with, he's fine with all of it. He wants to help the Maquis. He wants everyone to come together. That is, until his friends and those who wear the uniform give up their initial commitment to join the Maquis. And then he becomes confused, he becomes unreasonable. He becomes intolerant. When Cal Hudson gives up his command and betrays the Federation, Sisko becomes enraged. Oh, make no mistake, Hudson was a traitor and according to Starfleet, should be in jail. But Sisko becomes dedicated. He becomes dedicated to going after him and those who don't follow Starfleet's oath. Those who are a part of his in-group, a part of his tribe, had betrayed everything. He loses sight at the end of all this. Again, according to TNG, Voyager, and even earlier DS9, the Maquis was defined to be both settlers and terrorist groups. They were used interchangeably. But look at what happens after Cal. Sisko stops differentiating them. He starts to demonize the entirety of the peoples. To be fair, in the episode with Cal, most of them are a part of the terrorist cell, so he did reach the right people there, but even then, a few weren't. They were just citizens trying to survive. Most importantly, he begins to other people. But even in the episode with Cal, at the end of that episode, he understands what they are doing.
I said I'd stop the Maquis, and I have. But I would not kill a good man for defending his home.
But all of that would be lost in DS9's For the Uniform. We would see the culmination of the othering, of the Intolerance, when Sisko fires 2 quantum torpedoes into a planet's atmosphere.
Commander, I said launch torpedoes.
Aye, sir.
Trilithium resin is dissipating throughout the biosphere. The Maquis are scrambling their transport ships. They're starting to evacuate.
You know, the weapons designed to destroy the Borg, and according to some beta canon, has an excess yield of 100 megatons of TNT. For perspective, 1 megaton is 1 million tons of TNT. A kiloton is only 1,000 tons of TNT. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima was 16 kilotons. The weapons used above the planet by Sisko, and future ones he intended to do as well, were tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands more powerful than what the United States did to Hiroshima. Even if we assume that every one of those Maquis colonies were straight terrorist organizations, that they had bought it full line and sinker, every one of them, including the children, not every one of them would have agreed with what Eddington was doing. Not to that extent, and obviously, not every one of them was helping him. And yet, to Sisko, he was treating them all the same, just to get Eddington. One man.
He worked under me for a year and a half. I saw him almost every day. Read his reports. Had him to dinner. I even took him to a baseball game in the Hollow Suite once. And I never saw it. It's my job to be a good judge of character. And what did I do? Not only did I not see it, I put him up for a promotion.
He played his hand well.
He played me all right. And what is my excuse? Is he a changeling? No. Is he a being with 7 lifetimes of experience? No. Is he a wormhole alien? No. He's just a man like me. And he beat me.
People will say that Eddington intended to do this to other Cardassian colonies. Well, that's fair enough, but let's be honest. We all know that Sisko was going after Eddington because it was personal. All of the dialogue indicates that. He was putting lives in danger and othering every person not in a Starfleet uniform to get the man he wanted. Because to him, at this point, they were all the same anyway. Sure, he was playing the CAD, but he was playing the CAD with people's lives and using very powerful Borg-killing technology to do it. At the end of the day, I think Sisko lost his way. He became intolerant of people he claimed to understand, because those in his tribe, in Starfleet, in his in-group, sympathized with people that didn't agree with Federation ideals. But to be honest, that is one of the things that makes Sisko great. Even in his flaws, he teaches us all something. What that lesson is up to you guys, though. All of this is just my opinion. This is how I interpret the event. Tell me yours. Let me know in the comments below.